Okay, thank you very much, Ajit, and thank you all for joining us. Again, my name is Kwasi Fraser, Mayor of the Town of Purcellville, fourth-term Mayor of the Town of Purcellville. Our town's mission is small town USA that innovates and create for the future. And I'd like to discuss with you all our smart cities vision. I have a panelist of experts. I'll give them 30 seconds to introduce themselves, and we'll flow right into the questions. Apologies for being late. Okay, we can start with Mike Cannon.
Thank you for the opportunity to participate in the panel, and thank you to the folks at MITRE. And it's an honor to be here. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Stafford County, also the Executive Committee member of the Virginia Smart Community Testbed, which I'll talk about later.
Thank you very much, Mike. Renu?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Renu Chaudry. I am the Chief Strategy Officer leading the Center of Engineering and Innovation for OST. OST is a system integrator. So at our Center of Engineering and Innovations, we experiment with emerging technologies and vendor products to integrate them into test beds before they're deployed for operational use. So as a founding partner of the Virginia Smart City Testbed in Stafford County, and part of a Smart Airports Testbed in Atlantic City, we are committed to supporting deployment of 5G. And I'm very glad to be part of this panel today.
Okay, again, welcome, Renu. Thank you very much. And Tom?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tom Sawanobori. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for CTIA. And CTIA is the Wireless Trade Association that represents wireless industry here in the United States. Today, I'm excited to talk to you about smart cities. We have a smart cities working group with dozens of members who are participating in various types of smart city activities across the country. So really excited to be part of the panel and looking forward to the discussion.
Looking forward to the same. Thank you, Tom, Michael, and Renu. For the first question, just to put some context around it, the town of Purcellville has taken steps to ensure we are prepared to embrace innovation and the promise of 5G. For example, we are probably one of the only municipalities that have in our comprehensive plan the mention of drone technology. So with all of that said, my first question is, what barriers and challenges to adoption and transformation do you see? And the question, I'll take that first to Mike.
Yes, with a local government perspective, I think the challenges are, first of all, right of way and having space to be able to place new radios, new technology. Some of the 5G technologies, especially the millimeter, require deployment every 2,000 feet. So that really works well for very highly dense areas. Some of the newer 5G technologies that you're seeing, like C-band, will work at greater distances, and I think that makes it a little bit easier to essentially retrofit what is already in place as far as infrastructure goes. But any new towers or poles, from what I understand, usually takes about 6 strands of fiber. So it requires tearing up the right of way. It requires getting permits, and not every city and community is going to be as amenable to it, depending on aesthetics and how it will fit into the community. And it really needs to have support from the community to really succeed.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Any thoughts, Tom, on that question? What barriers are you seeing or challenges?
Yes, Mayor Fraser, I think you've actually done a great job in Purcellville, and I've understood you've set a great example there with your you have a comprehensive town plan which flows into your city ordinances and streamlines the process for fiber deployment and the right of ways. So I think that's the sort of thing that really facilitates getting 5G out there in the towns and cities across America. So streamlining the deployment of small cells, for example, on cities' infrastructure, such as using existing light poles, street lights, and other municipal facilities is really important. You already have power there, and while fiber can be run, down the street, it can also be run into the poles so that you can have backhaul facilities there. And the other thing is some of these small towns, municipalities don't have a lot of people to to process applications. So I think having a process to streamline processing of the applications, to be able to process them at reasonable costs. And we already have a framework, I think, across much of the nation, with over 30 states having already enacted small cell bills, which capture those key elements of having access to these facilities, having reasonable prices, and streamlining the deployment.
Okay, thank you very much. And Renu, anything to add to this? Any challenges that was not mentioned before?
Yeah, so as a system integrator, I wear that hat all the time. And we see two top challenges, and especially in testing and security. Those will make our ecosystem more robust. So the landscape of every city is different, so no one size fits all. And as Mike mentioned, the 5G network uses millimeter wave frequency, which only covers small distances. So a dense mesh network of small cell base stations is required, which means there's going to be a lot more antennas need to be installed throughout the city for coverage. And then one has to achieve, clear line of sight and quality. So keeping all those things in mind, a lot of testing has to be done to ensure that these signals are being transmitted and reliable and not blocked by, buildings and trees and so on. So the second challenge, as mentioned, was secure 5G security. So even though 5G leverages much of the secure 4G LTE infrastructure, now there are going to be many more cells, small cells. Now, having added those means there's more vulnerable access points, and that have to be secured as well. And also, since 5G network provides a higher throughput, that means a lot more data would be transferred through that, which means, there'll be more thieves that would be attracted to attempt and get data exfiltration, which is a huge concern. So, there are security standards and guidelines that are being established right now, which is a great thing because that's a great area of concern by bodies such as 3GPP and others. But there's still work that needs to be done there. And actually, I could go on with a couple of things, but as we have seen throughout the sessions today, there are challenges besides testing and security. Access to data in near real time is also a challenge. Today data is collected by many systems in silo systems, but with IoT, 5G, cloud computing, digital twins, there'll be so much more data that will be collected, and we need 5G to support that.
No, thank you very much, Renu. And then the next question we have, so as local elected official, we have something called police power. And our police power is that we need to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of all of our citizens. So in that vein, what are some 5G applications for health, safety, and welfare for communities? And I'll start with you, Renu.
Thank you, Kwasi. So actually 5G will pave the path for thousands of applications, if not more. We're just on the launch pad of it. And, it'll enable millions of devices to communicate in a given area compared to the 100,000 some devices that are connected by 4G today. So 5G is going to actually disrupt both traditional and digital sectors. And it'll enable Internet of Things, IoT sensors and devices to communicate with each other at high speed and low latency. So many of the use cases and applications actually in the US are in test and proof of concept phases, across the globe today. But these initiatives will really change the way we live, So some smart city applications, I'll just cover some in the safety category, but we developed a smart city town center vision for Stafford. And as smart streets were talked about, smart lighting, to conserve energy, gunshot detection with real-time situational alerts to police and fire. We are installing, actually there are smart kiosks being installed in Stafford too. where the tourists, staff can monitor the tourists and that'll enhance travelers' experience too. And happy tourists will increase city revenues also, right? The more we can attract. So this all will be enabled, by 5G, and in a smart town center, all of these things will be there, along with environmental sensors too that can detect unhealthy quality of CO2 or noise or water quality and other emissions. So this is, just in the smart town center is all I'm saying, one application, one area, but with so many different applications. Similarly, I could go on, there's so many applications, but connected ambulances is another one that 5G will allow for. So this will actually allow, onboard cameras and patient telemetry devices, all of these Internet of Things devices to be connected to the ultra fast and low latency 5G network, which will help save lives.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Renu. And then, Mike, what are your thoughts? Again, speaking to health and safety.
Sure. Okay. Well, let me first back up for a second, just so that can set it all in context with our Virginia Smart Community Testbed, which isn't a testbed that was created with a partnership, a public-private partnership with the Virginia Innovation Partnership Corporation, Stafford County, and OST as a system integrator. And we have over 30 use cases in it. We also have Verizon as a platinum sponsor, and also they have created one of their dozen innovation hubs around the country, a 5G innovation hub that's going to be focused on public sector primarily. But most of our use cases are smart city related, either on the environment or public safety. So with the public safety side, security is a huge factor for safely deploying things. So we did a use case with a company called Enclave that provided zero trust security. We also have deployed flood sensors through a grant we received through the Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology, and we have 14 flood sensors deployed within Stafford and 95 or so deployed across the Commonwealth of Virginia. These flood sensors provide 4G connectivity now and maybe 5G in the future, but they do provide a way for these to be deployed where they can send a video picture essentially of what the situation looks like. It has different triggers that you can set for thresholds for flood levels, and we're using this to alert emergency management, to close down roads when there's flooding, and eventually to notify the public so that they're aware when there's a flood situation. We've also done some work with drones, which I won't get into right now, but a whole series of things like Renu mentioned as well with gunshot detection and other things where we're really testing new technologies that can eventually be brought into a real life setting. And the goal with this is to be able to be a demonstration for other communities to follow and to be able to learn from. And we certainly extend an invitation for those that are interested. You're welcome to look us up on our website and make a visit if you'd like.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. And then Tom, we touched on health, safety, and welfare is what I call sufficiently vague, but welfare covers a lot. So if there are any thoughts, Tom, what are your thoughts on some of these applications?
Yeah, a couple comments here, and I just fill in. First of all, I want to emphasize that 5G is the most secure technology we have to date, and is building on prior generations. And we're actually doing running a 5G security test bed here at CTIA to help make sure we test the recommendations that are being made to the FCC's advisory council. But beyond that, things, the data I think is really important to be secured. So that's always an element of that needs to be cared for as you look across all these different applications. I think one other area is in education, where I think we saw during the pandemic when people were students were trying to work remotely. Teachers were trying to work remotely, and in many cases there was a lack of connectivity. So many operators were able to utilize 4G and 5G hotspots to provide connectivity for remote education and learning, and that can be further enhanced as we think about tremendous capabilities with the metaverse, with being able to utilize, virtual reality of taking students on field trips and showing them how things work, and actually with augmented reality as well. So really exciting opportunities. Can't go into detail a lot in this time frame, but I think we're really excited about some of those opportunities as well.
Okay, no, thank you very much. And for the folks that are joining us, please put any questions that you have that we may not get to, put it in the chat and we'll try to get to it. Thank you again, panelists. My other question is, what are some 5G success stories and early wins in this journey? So I know we touched on some, but just quickly and specifically, what are some of the quick wins that you've seen so far? And we'll start with you, Tom, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think along the lines of one of the areas was mentioned before, safety. The city of New Orleans was seeing some increased crime, and we're concerned about that, both in terms of safety for their citizens and also ensuring folks that were coming to visit New Orleans that it was going to be safe. So they addressed that increase in crime by integrating camera video into what's known as their real-time crime center in the French Quarter. They integrated it with dispatch to first responders, and that really helped improve the safety, give people more confidence about being able to travel to the city to attract tourists and be able to keep conventions coming there. So that's just one example of an area where connectivity and integration of the technologies has been able to help improve things and sort of a quick first win.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Renu? And
again, I know we watched the NFL games last year, and we saw so many ads by Verizon at the stadiums where they've launched 5G. So I would say that is definitely a success story, and that's also a good testing ground because stadiums attract a lot of spectators, right? 40 to 50,000 sometimes in small spaces, and requires really large bandwidth connectivity. So these are great venues, and we have seen some successes here. We will, I think in the coming near future, we'll also see augmented reality being used because of 5G, enabled by 5G, to provide interesting data to fans. Like you could be able to see how fast the player is sprinting, for example. So I would say that is really a great success story. And same thing, I think it is being taken, it's become a launch pad now, and to do crowd management, at the stadiums itself. So 5G will allow for estimating of, waiting time at gates, restrooms or concession stands, and so on. So I think it has a lot to offer, and that we're already seeing things there.
Okay. And Mike, thoughts from a test bed perspective, what are some of the real plans?
So one test bed use case that has worked really well is we had 6 companies come together to demonstrate how to be able to deploy fiber rapidly and utilize smart lighting using a 60 gigahertz mesh network to be able to essentially create an air fiber type network with that level of speed to essentially blanket an area like a campus with connectivity. In our case, we've used Wi-Fi, but it could have easily been 5G. Mm-hmm. There's a company called Traxel that actually paints fiber onto a road surface, so it eliminates the need to be able to trench and dig up and tear up a roadway. And the smart lighting we used is from Philips, a company called Signify, which is a division of or subsidiary of Philips that provides 110 volt lighting and provides power over Ethernet, so you can put cameras and other devices on the lights, but it also serves as a mesh network that allows you to be able to transmit fiber level speeds across a campus. In our case, we've blanketed our government center parking lot with this connectivity, and it's a way to be able to roll Wi-Fi out in a wide area with very rapidly without a big expense.
Oh, good. So thank you very much. What I'll do, I'll take a break for some of our audience questions. So one question is coming from Greg Walters. what has the public's reaction been to your efforts? For example, privacy, and how are you managing those concerns? Um, Tom, can I have you take that one first, or?
Well, sure. I'm not sure if we know really a great deal about the privacy concerns, but certainly privacy concerns are paramount across all of these different use cases within smart cities. And 5G does provide a secure and robust connection from the device back to the smart city center or whoever's collecting the data. So it's really incumbent upon the entities working there and system integrators like folks like Renu's organization to help cities understand that and be able to make sure that they are caring for the security and privacy of that data, whether it's traffic data, whether it's health data, whether it's education data. All of that needs to be cared for and managed in a very secure and private manner so that citizens can be assured that their privacy is being maintained and that their data is secure and not subject to being hacked or otherwise infiltrated.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tom. Renu or Mike, would you like to add to that? Or?
I think just in our case, our use cases, we've really focused on doing ones that don't include personally identifiable information or health information that would be sensitive in our initial use case rollouts. As we continue to build on our security posture, I think we'll be a little more comfortable, but we want to make sure that the community is comfortable with what we're doing and not putting their information in jeopardy.
Understood. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Another audience question is, so this is the future. What are some valuable smart city use cases that you would like to see implemented but can't yet? We talk about metaverse and digital twinning. Is there something out there that you see a great use case, but it's not here yet?
I could start and just say I think our public safety group, our sheriff's office is one of the leaders in drone use for police-related work in the Commonwealth. And I think to be able to take it to the next level when 5G becomes blanketed throughout the county will be a game changer for their ability to do things. We've also been using tethered drones, which gives us a little more of a tactical advantage when it comes to the limitation of battery powers with drones. But I think there are some real promises there with 5G and the type of information we can make available to our public safety and the situational awareness it provides.
Absolutely. And Renu?
Yeah, no, I think we just mentioned even connected health, and I'm just bringing that up again only because that's something where we always want to improve these services to our citizens, especially when they're in dire need, right? So the more we can do to get them the attention and the medical service from their house when they're reporting it to the time they come to the hospital, that has to be shortened and so we can save lives.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then, Tom, I have a good one here for you. It's from a Peter Atwall. So 60 gigahertz is brittle, not self-forming or self-healing. How costly was it to install per node? And what happens when an antenna goes down? Think you could answer that one, Tom?
Well, I can talk in general about that. I'm not familiar with the 60 gigahertz mesh network I think that Mike was referring to, but many of our operators are using both. First of all, we use low, mid, and high band spectrum in 5G. Mike kind of alluded to it earlier that many of the initial small cell deployments in cities have been at millimeter wave frequencies, which are kind of in the 28 gigahertz, maybe up to 39. So we typically don't go as high as 60 gigahertz. It is more challenging to do it at those higher frequencies. In either case, they are generally speaking at those frequencies shorter range, so they have to be managed carefully in terms of the propagation. They don't necessarily bend around corners so much, but we also have robust 4G networks that they fall back to. And then, as was mentioned earlier, mid-band frequencies such as the C-band are being rolled out. So there'll be a I think this layer cake, as we call it, of the low, mid, and high bands being deployed, such that a customer will see less, more of a seamless experience, such that if one particular node were to be susceptible, the experience would be less perceptible to the user.
Thank you very much. And then I know we have 10 minutes to go. So there is another question that we have here. What are the benefits of 5G connectivity for smart city? And is fiber needed for 5G backhaul? And I'll start with Mike on this one.
Sure. Well, I think the example I just gave with our smart lighting is an example where you can avoid having to backhaul with fiber, but typically you are going to need fiber. And I think I mentioned earlier with the small cell, you're looking at probably 6 strands of fiber per location. So it is a fiber intensive effort. And when I watched the millimeter wave tower being installed by Verizon outside of our government center, it was a cast of dozens of people working day after day to get it installed. And I was thinking, this is not a easy thing to do, and it is very time consuming. So I think the C-band and some of the other technologies are going to help a lot, where they're just, the range is so much better, and we won't need, and it penetrates buildings better. And I think ultimately it will be kind of the ubiquitous standard that will really permeate through communities.
Thank you. And Renu?
Oh, she went off camera there.
Okay. Let me, so Tom, anything to add to that?
Yes. Yeah, just say that fiber is needed quite a bit, because you need to be able to backhaul that, aggregate all that traffic coming from various sites, and be able to send that back to the kind of the big central office and routing switch location. So that's why we need fiber optic. And there's also going to be a lot of data coming across there, whether it's cameras or sensors or what have you. And I think applications that we've talked about, one that we didn't talk about too much, which is smart traffic management, I think is really there, that something we're looking forward to, and probably the cities are looking forward to, more efficient routing of traffic, being able to direct people to certain parking or to certain venues within the city to help streamline things, to make it more efficient, safer, and also greener. We all are interested in making, I think, reducing greenhouse emissions. So those are some things, I think, where all these things can come together and really benefit a city and its population and citizens.
Yeah, it is a balance indeed. Renu, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I might have missed a little bit, only because my connection was lost, but benefits to 5G are, of course, immense. 4G LTE has spoiled us. We have all the apps available on one device now. That's our phone. And with 5G evolution, the integration and connectivity between thousands of IoT sensors, that are actually installed and will provide lightning speed of information flow in this sector. We'll have safer communities because of 5G, because there'll be more connected systems, more situational awareness. Our emergency response will be more efficient, and more than anything else, we'll be able to provide better customer service, to our citizens, and that's what the benefits would be.
Okay, no, thank you very much. And a question that comes up a lot, right, is what about the health concerns of 5G? Does 5G pose health risks to humans and pets? And Tom, I'll pose that to you.
Well, CTIA has done a lot of looking into this, and a lot of the facts are on a website called wirelesshealthfacts.org. It basically says that the radio frequency energy that's coming from wireless devices and networks has not been shown to cause health effects, according to the global scientific community. As one example, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has not found any quantifiable adverse health effects. The IEEE has assembled dozens of studies on millimeter wave and high band frequencies, and they've shown no link between the wireless use and illnesses. So you can find all of this information on the website. So, it's a understandable question or concern. And again, it's wirelesshealthfacts.org is a good resource for folks to look at, to be able to get the facts and understand who's looked at them, and how you can feel comfortable and safe about the operation of wireless.
Healthfacts.org, right?
Wirelesshealthfacts.org, correct.
Thank you. Next question for our panelists. What about concerns about aesthetics, specifically concerns that 5G antennas placement and look and the feel will compromise the beauty of an area? Meaning antennas all over the place. How do we intend to address that?
I'll take that one. Step in with the smart lighting example. Or go ahead, Tom.
No, Mike, feel free. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, with smart lighting, I think you can. It just looks like a normal light, and it provides, the radio integrated into it. But also utilizing government facilities and other rooftops, I think you can hide them well and not create aesthetic issues. No one seems to want a tower in their backyard. The NIMBYism has always been a challenge. And then back to the health concerns a little bit, it's always challenging anytime you get even close to a school. The community doesn't seem to like having 5G or any radios were located on school property in a lot of communities. So some are more accepting than others.
Understood. Any other thoughts from that perspective, team?
I would just add that attachment to existing municipal poles, lampposts, street lights, Mike kind of referred to that, I think is really helpful, because then you're not constructing a new facility there. And that way you can attach an antenna at the top of a lamppost. You can attach a small box near the top. It's still secure from vandalism and so forth, cables and so forth, and power run inside the pole to make it fairly secure. And it's interesting because I, as a CTO of the wireless industry, I go around looking for these things, and I take pictures and I point them out to my friends and family, and they say, "Oh, I didn't even notice those." In most cases, and so that's the whole point: is if they're not noticeable, they're not any kind of an aesthetic issue, then I think doing that, complementing that with rooftop sites that C-band and mid-band spectrum are deployed in, is really the way to go. And we can ensure good coverage, good continuity of service, and still balance having cities and municipalities be satisfied, so that we can move forward with the deployments.
Absolutely. And well, this has been a very efficiently run question and answer. We only have 2 minutes left, but I'll give you each a few minutes or seconds to answer this one last question. Should municipalities prioritize in building fiber rather than street furniture? What else can be done to ease this issue? And so this is, again, what can towns do? And the question there is, should we prioritize in building fiber rather than street furniture? And I'll start with you, Mr. Stafford County.
Yeah, I think with the infrastructure bill and other opportunities, federal funding, it's an excellent opportunity, probably a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go look at fiber and things that qualify for funding that can improve government connectivity and bring broadband and wireless services to the community. And I don't think we'll ever see this again in our lifetime with those opportunities. And I think it's really incumbent on every community to try to go after some share of that funding that's available.
Absolutely. And Renu? Thank you, Tom. Mike. And then Tom and Renu.
Renu, were you going to say something?
Oh.
Your mic's not working. I would just say, to complement what Mike said, it's really important to think about wireless as an option. There's many places where fiber is definitely a priority, and it's great service both for fixed and for mobile service. But there are some places where fiber deployments just are not practical outside of your towns, and even shortly some of these some areas that are a little more remote, where wireless does make a difference. And fixed wireless access is already being rapidly deployed on 5G by all of our nationwide operators. So I think and many of our regional operators as well. And there's a way to really bridge the digital divide and bring more digital equity to folks. So I think both need to be considered.
Okay. Okay, and I'll have Renu last words.
Oh, thank you. No, I think fiber is needed, of course, but 5G and even satellite communications, the connectivity, the world will be connected, from space to ground, and we need that connectivity with satellite, 5G, and the fiber, for us to develop so many more applications for our citizens and to make their lives better. Looking forward to the tomorrow of 5G.
Well, thank you very much, Renu. Those are great words to end this. Again, we thank the MITRE team and the Open Generation 5G Summit. Thank you all, my great panelists. This has been a pleasure.